And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to RickCast, episode 169. I hope everybody's having a good evening tonight. Beautiful 14th of August, 2025. First with the doubleheader for me. I'll be doing my show with you guys now, and then in about an hour and 40 minutes, I will be doing news from the pew with the one and only Steve Cunningham. So it's going to be a good show as always. And I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, help the show grow. And it's good to see you guys as the wrenches assemble. And if you don't know what the wrenches are, pretty much I give admin privileges to anybody that hangs out in the chat. I'm not one of these people. You want to be a mod? I give mods to everybody. I'm like Oprah. You can all have them. So, what are we going to talk about tonight? We are going to be talking about Trump and Putin meeting in Alaska and the potential for that. What's going to happen there? What Putin is asking for, the willingness of Trump to give it to him, and so forth. After that, we'll talk about they're always kind of slow news days, but Gavin Newsom has decided that he is going to try and gerrymander California even more, which is fine. Let him do whatever he wants. It's the state of California. It's not going to change the outcome that much. Texas will get 5 more seats in theirs. Jasmine Crockett's seat will be gone in Texas. And, they may do 1 or 2 things in California to counter that, but the states have the right to do so. If California wants to do it, California can do it. There's nothing. If I'm in favor of Texas doing it, I'd be in favor of California doing it as well. So it's not like the slam dunk. Oh, I can't believe you did. I don't care. Do whatever you want, man. And yes, that's right, Permat. Tomorrow is the Feast of the Assumption. Make sure you go to church. And if you feel like it, you might be allowed to have yourself a little meat tomorrow, because it is the Feast of the Assumption. So just remember that. Big day for us Catholics tomorrow. And so, yeah, you're right. It'll just be more lawsuits, Mark. Texas gets red, California gets blue. That's how it goes anyway, right? If this would just be happening every 10 years if they stuck to the census. So the fact that it's happening mid-cycle is apparently the big deal here, which it's not a big deal. It just is what it is. So we'll talk about that. And then finally, we got 2 stories after that. Looks like a judge has cleared the way for InfoWars to be sold to The Onion, which is just ridiculous. I mean, Alex Jones and all those guys essentially have a backup network in place. So whatever they get, The Onion's not going to be able to make anything out of it because The Onion has legitimately no ability to make anything creative or funny because they've lost all of that. So we'll talk about that as well, especially when it happens to the godfather of independent media. I think I would be remiss if I didn't call Alex Jones the godfather of independent media. Now, Steve Cunningham is the godfather of Catholic independent media, but you have you have Alex Jones. You got to give the man his due in that regard. So, they might sell it and whatever. And then I'll talk to you guys real quick about the film Nobody 2, because I just saw it this afternoon. If you're not able to stick around to the end of the show, it's one of my favorite movies of the summer. It's actually one of my favorite movies of the year so far because it knows what it does and it sticks to it. So, positive review on the way. It'll drop on Saturday. My full review of Nobody 2 will drop on Saturday at 10 p.m. 10 a.m. Central Time on RickCast Reviews. But I'll talk about it a little bit here towards the end of the show. And like I said, I always say it and then it happens anyway. I'm not planning on the show being that much longer because it's a double header night and I don't want to lose Steve for Steve Cunningham and news from the P. I want to be able to actually give the old college try and effort for Steve and news from the Pew. So we'll get right into it. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that repost button on X. If you're on Getter, give me the like, repost it as well. Let's try to get the show out to as many people as possible. Same on Rumble. Drop a like, subscribe, or follow on Rumble if you'd like. Anything you guys can do to help out the show would be greatly, greatly appreciated as we continue to climb. Thursday is always the toughest night to stream because everybody does. You know who doesn't get a wrench? Steph. Steph doesn't get a wrench. I support the fact that Alex Jones has been right on more stuff than he has been wrong on. B, you're either for the freedom of the press or you're not, Steph. Are you one of these people that's mad that Trump's supposedly going after journalists? Well, the made up idea of a corporate press is that it's made up. The press is the press. Alex Jones is a member of the press. He may say things that upset you, but he has the right to say them. So the fact that he's being sued for it is ridiculous. Now, of course, it was a stupid thing for him to say, and he got sued in civil court. So the justice system worked out in that way. I support anybody's right to speak their mind freely because right now the left does it. The left does it, but when the right does it, all of a sudden it's a bad idea. So yes, I do. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let us get into the show tonight. But first, before we get to it, let's make sure we talk to. Oh, by the way, Mark, did you send me an email? Send me an email, buddy, with your address so I can send you a book. Since you got one of the bad copies of The Armed Catholic, I want to make sure I get you a good copy of that book. So make sure it doesn't look like you have a maybe you did. I don't know. Let me check. Doesn't look like I have anything from you. Send me an email to that email address right there, Mark, and I'll send you a free copy of the Armed Catholic book since you got a bad copy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see. I'm still working the ropes here, bro. All right. First, sponsor of the program, tradflags.com. Want to say thank you to tradflags.com for being the first sponsor to step up and support RickCast. If you're in the trad communities at all, then you know a lot about tradflags.com. Tradflags.com has amazing products that Catholics can use to display their faith and spread the message of the faith, whether it is the garden flags or the giant monthly flags or the specialty flags or the magnets or the trad mugs, whatever you'd like. You can grab it at tradflags.com. I think I might actually have to grab this one, especially since it's on sale. Sin makes you stupid. Pretty awesome, actually. I think I'm probably going to grab it. But if you grab anything at tradflags.com, please use my promo code, which is going down on the bottom of the screen right now. Use RickCast. You get 10% off your order, and it helps support the channel. So once again, I want to say thank you to tradflags.com for being the first people to step up and support the program. That is tradflags.com. Thank you very much to Keith and everybody over at tradflags.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. For us, the first story of the night, something I'm just going to talk about real quick. I guess it's a warm-up story. This came about on the White House X feed. I think it was yesterday. Oh, no, a couple days ago. So in Operation Making DC Safe and Beautiful Again, this man was arrested for carrying a pistol without a license. Now, as a 2A guy, I think that's ridiculous. But DC is not a permitless carry state. You need a permit to actually do all these, to carry a firearm and so forth. But my real thing is, this is what they're going after. I thought they were going after the street gangs and all these other kinds of guys. Now, was he arrested in the context of another crime, or did they just pull him over, or was it at a checkpoint? Where did they find out that this guy didn't actually have a license to carry this firearm? So, not a big fan of it. Of course, I'm not a big fan of the takeover of DC. We got breaking news here. We got breaking news. We got to break in here on this one, guys. We've got cooking tri tips for dinner. Joey, that sounds delicious. I just had a nice 16-ounce ribeye, so I'm good on my meat portions for the day. But yeah, that sounds absolutely amazing. There. No, we don't. I as much as it is, I don't agree with national reciprocity. I don't, because it won't be enforced. Because blue states already ignore immigration law, they ignore marijuana law. You think they're going to give you a pass? No, they're going to toss you in jail, and you're going to have to fight your way legally out of it. National anything is always is never the solution. So I don't believe in national reciprocity. I think Joey doesn't agree with me on that one. But the idea behind there's two reasons why I'm not a fan of national reciprocity. First one is it's a trap for conservatives and people who carry guns in blue states. You're going to get arrested by those guys. You're going to get tossed in jail. They're not going to reciprocate of it. Oh, yes, a good ribeye. Yes. Ribeye is the best. The marbling on the ribeye is the best. Now, tri-tips and sirloin is all good, Joey. But for me, if I had my choice of any kind of steak, it'd have to be the ribeye, just because of the marbling and you get the most out of it. But steak is steak. So the first one is I believe it'll be a trap that would get a lot of people thrown in jail in California and all these other places. Secondly, and here's the more important part, Bellator, with a national reciprocity, who sets the standard for the test? Is it going to be like Texas, where you got to take 50 shots, 20 shots at 3 yards, 20 shots at 7 yards, 10 shots at 15 yards, get a 175 out of 250? Or is it going to be like California or New Jersey, where you essentially have to be like John Wick to get a firearm proficiency test? So I don't like the idea. I understand, and even guys like Thomas Massey, even Thomas Massey's in favor of a national reciprocity thing. I'm one of the few people that's not in favor of it, because I'm trying to be consistent across the board. I don't think federalizing anything is the answer. I just don't really visit blue states. It's that simple. And the fact of the matter is, it sounds like a BS thing, but if you want, I mean, look at my third point. National, New York State Pistol and Rifle Association won their SCOTUS challenge and essentially made New York a permitless carry state, and the state redrew the entire map to say, oh, you can have a gun, just can't have it outside your house. So, yeah, Mark, I mean, I think Arizona is a crazy state too. A buddy of mine said he got his license, and it was the same picture for like forever, that he didn't even have to renew it. It's just like infinity. So I get that. So the law would have to include criminal penalties for state officials. Now we're getting into mechanisms of enforcement. Who's going to enforce it? Who's going to enforce those criminal penalties? Right? Your DOJ. If it's President BBL, is she going to enforce those laws? I get, and I understand, and I know I understand. I'm the guy swimming uphill, mixing metaphors. I'm going to make like a tree and get out, and so forth. I do. I think getting rid of the Short Act, which is the short barrel, SBR, short barrel rifles, getting rid of that and removing silencers from the National Firearms Act, or the registry. I think those two need to go immediately. You should not have Europe. This is the one place where Europe's gun laws are better than the United States. In Europe, they hand out suppressors to everybody. There's a funny story. One guy flew to Europe. He flew to England, and he bought like 40 suppressors, and he tried to smuggle them back into the U.S. See if I can find that story. It was man tries to smuggle suppressors from England. Let me see if I can even. Oh yeah, check this out. This was back in 2017. Check this story out. This is how much European gun laws, at least when it comes to suppressors, are better. Check out this story. Yes, we're all 18 here. We're adults. Get out of here. Man guilty of smuggling suppressors in from the UK back in 2017. So, it would be so yes, Mark, I am in favor of getting rid of those because you shouldn't suppressors are essentially safety equipment. If you think about it, I think they're safety equipment. Yeah, he's like John Wick. I got to smuggle 35 suppressors back in. But suppressors are safety equipment. It helps with your hearing. But because, we have laws on the books because people watch the Die Hard movies. So people still think that Glocks can get through airport security because they're plastic. That's how smart the people are that are making these laws for us. But yes, I would be in favor of getting rid of those. That would be far better for the gun right community at large than any kind of like national reciprocity, because that's just going to be lawsuits and tied up in court. And if you get caught with something in LA, they're going to throw you in jail anyway because the DA is not going to enforce it. Okay, well, there's going to be criminal penalties. Who's going to enforce the criminal penalties? Kash Patel? Dan Bongino? Law and Bunny Bondi? Who's going to enforce that? So I get what you guys are saying. I get it, and I understand that I'm the guy swimming upstream. I'm just never, if I'm not a fan of Trump federalizing law enforcement for New York and LA and all these other things, I'm not in favor of the federales doing anything like that. So that's my idea. Mark, in Texas, we have a law that says you can make suppressors in Texas and you can buy suppressors in Texas without going through the NFA. And it's written because Ken Paxton wanted somebody to do it so he could bring it up to SCOTUS. Because it's written in the law that if the FBI or somebody arrests you, the Attorney General of the state of Texas will represent you all the way to SCOTUS. Now that just means SCOTUS has to take the case. So if they don't take the case, you're SOL. But no national nothing. No national nothing. Don't like it. But I understand when people go, yeah, we need to have it. It would be nice. It would be nice to have it. So it is what it is in that regard. But yes, if I had a choice, I would get rid of the short act and I would love suppressors to just go to a 4473, which I don't even like 4473s, but that'll be a compromise, and then just walk out the store with it. You should be able to do that. It should be that easy to buy a suppressor. But no, because some lawmakers watch the James Bond movie and they think that suppressors turn gun into mosquito farts. They can't ever do it. Yeah, some dudes are always trying to ice skate uphill. Some brothers are always trying to ice skate uphill. And yeah, that might be me sometimes, depending on the subject. All right, let's get to our first story of the night, ladies and gentlemen. So, from groundnews.com, Trump and Putin are heading to Anchorage for a Ukraine ceasefire summit. Russian President Vladimir Putin and President Donald Trump of these United States are scheduled to hold talks in Alaska on Friday, aimed at negotiating an end to the conflict in the Ukraine. The meeting follows years of conflict since Russia's 2014 invasion, with Ukraine excluded from talks and wary of potential demands to cede territory. Here's my thing. Ukraine is not in the driver's seat. Okay? People are like, well, the Ukraine will never give up fighting. If Trump tells them to shut up and just give up this thing, then yes, they will. Because the European Union cannot sustain the conflict for the Ukraine. And I don't care what the European countries say. Oh, you can't negotiate with. You guys are still buying oil from Russia. Half of the European Union is still buying oil from Russia right now, despite the fact there's sanctions on them. So they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. Um, so that there is that. It's one of these things. Secondly, Putin's not giving up the land that he got. He's not giving it up. The best thing you can hope for is a demilitarized zone. You give you give Putin what he wants. You put a demilitarized zone in place, and the Ukraine can have the rest of it. Now you have a situation like is in South Korea in the Ukraine. That's all. The ghost of Kiev never gave up. So you have that. Ukraine controls about 80% of its territory, while Russia holds roughly 20%, and most Ukrainians oppose giving up land for peace. I don't care. I don't care what the Ukrainians want. Yeah, there's a lot. Mark's saying that they're not going to go anywhere. There's a lot of people that don't think. They think this is just a show event. That Trump and Putin will shake hands and they'll get some photos, but it won't ultimately go anywhere. It could, but if Trump just is like, listen, well, you guys keep yours, we'll set up a demilitarized zone, they can keep their 80%, you keep your 20%, and no more fighting, then you could get an end to it. Yeah, Ukraine isn't a real country. And the fact that people are complaining about Ukraine as the last democracy when the US came in and overthrew the democracy and installed that little clown puppet president Zelensky in there. So it's ridiculous. I mean, the Ukraine has really been like a vassal state for the US as far as like biological testing and all kinds of crazy stuff that happens over there. Plus, all the money we've sent to them, most of it has been embezzled. You see the pictures of like nightclubs and all these other kinds of things where money is just flowing in. That's your money that they've taken and just, moved around. Mark says it'll embolden Russia. Guess what? Russia is emboldened because they control the territory they want. The U.S. is not putting ground forces in, and we are not spilling blood in a ground war with Russia to get back 20% of Ukraine. So Ukraine is not getting that land back. They're just not. Plus, it could be argued the Donbass region is more Russian than Ukraine. So the 80% that don't want to give it up, they don't really have a say. Right? Dean, my man Dean says all the weapons we've sent over there, they end up on the black market. So it's been a completely pointless war. Russia is emboldened, in my opinion, Mark. Russia's emboldened already because they have what they want. Yeah, they would have absolutely taken Kiev if they had the opportunity. You're in a war, you might as well go for it. I'm not endorsing it. That's just the strategy. You fire as far as you can in, and then you keep what you kill, essentially. They weren't able to get there, so they're happy with the land bridge to Crimea. That's what they wanted. Remember, the bridge to Crimea was blown up by the Ukrainians, which was a stupid idea. Because now the Russians are absolutely like, hey, now we're going to keep it. Now we're definitely going to keep the land, man, the Donbass area, because we don't have a bridge to Crimea. It is what it is. It is what it is. Do you really think he'll move on to other countries, Mark? I don't think so. I don't think so. Call me an optimist. I think because Putin has been, and people argue with me about this, Putin has been very reserved. When people say, oh, well, the Ukrainians have repelled back the Russians. I feel like the Russians have been playing very timidly as you can in a conflict with the Ukrainians. If they really wanted to steamroll the entire thing, if they really wanted to turn Ukraine into a parking lot, they could have, and there was nothing the other that the Ukrainians would have done. Now, if we remember, and back on the old channel, Mike Church brought this up time and time again. We did provoke the Russians into this in a way. I'm not saying all the way, but with the constant moving of military bases and the idea of bringing moving up weapons closer and closer and closer to Russia, flirting with the Ukraine to being in NATO, all the things that we agreed after the end of the Cold War weren't going to happen. We're like, yeah, we're just going to do them anyway. So I think that if Trump can get, something even close to a negotiable deal, I think he takes it. Oh, the Ukrainians will be mad. Well, the Ukrainians can shut up. Because guess what? If we head out, then the Ukrainians are SOL, because the French and the Germans, none of them can do anything to stop the Russians. I don't know if the Russian military is that bad. Zelensky would attack another country just to get more money from the war. Yeah. Zelensky is awful. But then again, I think we have to look at the fact that Zelensky is nothing more than a puppet for NATO. He's just doing the bidding of NATO because NATO wants that ground war with Russia. They've been looking for 60 plus years. So we'll see. Michael Froman said a ceasefire emerging from the summit would be significant, but warned that trading territory at Ukraine's expense is unsustainable. The summit could shape geopolitical and economic relations, but many experts doubt Putin's seriousness and expect the Russians to seek broad concessions. Isn't that what you do in a negotiation? I'm not speaking for the guy, but you give the big ask. Anyway, let's listen to Catholic Caroline Levitt.
You're being very kind, and I won't be so kind, and I'll just name some of those people, such as John Bolton, who I think has made a disgrace of himself on television and in the newspapers, claiming that he knows better than President Trump. No, he doesn't, and neither do any of these so-called foreign policy experts who have never solved a foreign policy conflict in their lives. Look at what this president has done in 6 months. He has stopped 7 global conflicts all around the world, using the leverage of the United States of America to negotiate these conflicts to an end. You had the leaders of Azerbaijan and Armenia at the White House last week, both of whom said this would not have been possible without the leadership of President Trump and his administration. So the American people trust this president. That's why they overwhelmingly reelected him. And I think it's pathetic, some of the chatter that we see from these so-called experts who have zero accomplishments on their own resumes to point to. President Trump knows what he's doing. He has great instincts. This is a highly complex and brutal war that, again, inherited by Joe Biden. Russia did not invade Ukraine under
slip of the tongue there, Caroline. Inherited by Joe Biden. Ooh, maybe.
President Trump. They invaded under Joe Biden because of his incompetence and his weakness. And this president is trying to solve it and bring it to an end. And he deserves great credit for that.
So we'll see. Yeah, bless her heart, Lou. That's really the thing. Well, that is her job, is to just blow smoke. That's her entire job, is to blow smoke and to make him seem like he's better than he, really is doing. I don't know. We'll see. Most of you guys are right that nothing will probably come out of this except some photo ops. But we'll see. I don't know. At least they're meeting, right? At least they're meeting. We could be positive. We could look at the positive side of that and say, hey, at least they're meeting together and all these other kinds of things. Notice how she's not wearing that cross anymore. That's the big thing about Carolyn that I've noticed, is that she's not flashing that cross all the time like she was before. So, yeah, if they weren't set on fire, we wouldn't be in this situation. So, why? I mean, we don't really need to invade Canada. We could just have the Salvation Army. We could have the Salvation Army invade Canada and take that over in about 20 minutes. So I'm not really worried about Canada. Mark, you do bring up a good point about if this appeasement does happen, do the Chinese move on Taiwan? Some people are saying that's why Trump wants to close the book on the Ukraine, because everybody's trying to shift focus to China. But we'll see. All we can see, right? All we can see here is that they're meeting. Take it as a good sign that they're meeting, and we will just have to wait. And, as Catholics, we should pray that that something positive comes out of it and that bloodshed stops, because we do want the bloodshed to stop. We do. We absolutely do. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is RickCast. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell as we move on to our next story of the day. Kind of a silly one, but Newsom calls a special November 4th election in California on partisan redistricting plan to counter Texas. California Governor Gavin Newsom announced a special election on November 4th to redraw congressional maps, aiming to help Democrats win 5 more U.S. House seats in 2026. Newsom stated, Donald Trump, you have poked the bear and we will punch back regarding the Republican effort in Texas. This is just part of Newsom's presidential campaign, really. Critics, including the National Republican Congressional Committee spokesman Christian Martinez, accused Newsom of acting for his 2028 presidential ambitions rather than for California voters. The SEIU, California President David Huerta, expressed confidence in voters, saying California voters must be given the chance to save our democracy. Here's the funny thing. Let's say they do call this, and let's say it gets voted down, because it's different than calling for calling for an election is different than having your people in the House actually make that decision. If you're going to leave it to the people of the state, you might, because this is the same California that voted down same-sex marriage way back in the day. Of course, there was a different population at a different time. I get it. But it's interesting that he's counting on the voters of California to come in and approve this plan. Here's the thing about special elections. You're going to get low voter turnout. So if enough people come out and vote against this, and remember, the most Republican votes for Trump, I believe in 2020, maybe even in 2024, came from California. It didn't come from Texas. It didn't come from Florida, because California has a significantly high population of Republicans. They just get outvoted by all the illegal immigrants in LA and San Francisco and Sacramento and all the cities, and all the corruption and the fraud and everything that takes place there. So it's interesting that they're trying to do this as a special election, which could easily backfire on them, which would be the most California thing in the world. Gavin Newsom's going to call this session, and he's going to try and use it for his presidential campaign, and he's going to puff his chest out, and to see it get voted down would be, without a doubt, hysterical. So let's hope that happens, because anything less would just be kind of sad. There's really nothing else to talk about this. This happens every 10 years. It's just a big deal because the Republicans are doing what the Democrats do. Because some people would argue that the Democrats do have control of the Texas government because they have control of the Texas House because they own the Republican speaker. But if they had full control of the Texas House and the Texas Senate, they would have redrawn the lines all over the place, because that's what they do. They just have a hissy fit when the other team does it. So Gavin Newsom wants to do it in a state that means nothing. Oh, you get 5 seats there. It's a net neutral in that case. Okay, whatever. If the census does go through, if it does go through, there's going to be a bunch of changes in 2030 anyway. At the 10-year mark, just based on COVID and the swapping around that went that way. Plus, if Trump gets his way and the U.S. citizenship question is actually asked and recorded in the census, that might change seats as well. Now, of course, that calls on people actually having to have correct morals and filling the thing out properly. But we'll have to see where that goes. But in this case, I would love to see California in an off-year election come out and vote down the idea of redistricting. Now, of course, they'll just put it on again and again and again and again until they get what they want, just like they did with, same-sex marriage. But it is what it is. It is. At Bellator, this is all games. Bellator's writing, same dang party, just one wants lower taxes. Both love spending money wildly. You're right. What's the old saying? Conservatives are just liberals doing the speed limit. So you're not getting that much of a difference with the Republican Party. You just feel better about it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell as we move on, because in about an hour from now, I will be doing News from the Pew with the one and only Steve Cunningham. I know my computer is actually lagging a little bit right now. My poor little MacBook is... I ask so much of my little MacBook Pro, and most of the time it does pretty well, but sometimes it's just like Michael Clark Duncan from the Green Mile. I'm tired, boss. I don't want to stream, especially towards the end of the week. It starts getting real tired towards the end of the week. Anyway, let's get to our third story of the night. Judge clears the way for The Onion, the failed comedy website, to revive bid for Alex Jones's InfoWars. That's right, Joey. The next sentence. Yeah, I mean, like, that's what I mean. Even that joking aside, in California, are they going to fill him out correctly? Who's the ones doing? Government employees who don't like Trump are going to fill him out however they want. So it is what it is in that regard. It's all just smoke and mirrors. Anyway, August 13th, a Texas district court judge ruled that control of Alex Jones's InfoWars parent company must be handed to a receiver appointed by the court who will oversee the sale of the assets of InfoWars based on the ridiculous decision that was put against Alex Jones for the Sandy Hook stuff. I mean, it was just not great. Anyway, the ruling follows 2020 defamation conviction and long-standing lawsuit from the Sandy Hook family seeking damages over his false hoax claims about the 2012 event in Sandy Hook. The receiver now controls InfoWars assets, including website and property, enabling seizure and liquidation, while the sales could revive bids from the satirical, outdated outlet backed by Sandy Hook families, which is kind of weird how the Sandy Hook families were able to come up with that much money to buy InfoWars. I was like, well, I didn't know you guys had that much money. But let's say InfoWars does go away. You don't think Alex Jones could go on Amazon and buy a microphone and a camera and say, listen up, now I'm streaming from here, and everybody that watched him before, because he can still stream on X, and he can still stream on Rumble, and he can still stream on Getter. So this is going to it's going to be a net zero. This isn't going to be the blow that people think it's going to be to InfoWars. Because the equipment to stream nowadays, it may not be the highest quality at first, but Alex Jones did it before. He'll just do it again. And he'll be like, I need subscribers and I need a base. And he'll get all the people that subscribe to InfoWars. They'll stop subscribing to InfoWars. They'll all subscribe. He can call it the Alex Jones Network, the AJN, or whatever he wants to call it. And he's still got Owen Schroeder. He's still got the guy in the morning. He's still got his entire roster that'll go over with him. And he'll just start streaming from wherever he wants to. They could all stream from their houses. They could save so much overhead. It's like, all right, you just have to stream from your garage. You got to stream from your room. I'm going to stream from my room. We're just going to keep the Alex Jones Network now. This isn't the blow that it would have been 20 years ago, right? In 2000, where streaming would have been impossible. And his, radio shows and stuff like that, he wouldn't have been able to have access to. But the fact is, all he has to do is start up another connection and go. So if I'm Alex Jones, I'm like, whatever, man, have it. Yeah, it sucks because I got to rebuild my entire brand, but it's not likely that you're going to silence him. And it's like, oh, well, Alex Jones can't buy microphone equipment. He'll just have somebody buy it for him. It's silly. It's old world thinking. Like, we got rid of you. We took your name from you. Okay, I'll just go do it somewhere else. And that's the thing people don't get. Somebody like Alex Jones, whether you like him or not, he's not going to be silenced by this. He's not going to be stopped by this. And he's still going to sell all the stuff that he sells, you know, his pills and his vitamins and his magic blue and all these other kinds of things that he sells. People will still buy them to support him. He's got a membership service that I'm sure, you know, how many people are watching him right now? Because I know his network essentially runs from morning to the afternoon. Let's see how many people are watching InfoWars right now. There's 109,000 people watching InfoWars. He already has it. He has the Alex Jones network on X. And 23,000 people are watching that right now. Well, how many are on Getter? Because I know he's on Getter too. You know, so take 23,000. Even if somebody was like, hey, charge him $10 a month. If he charges every single, if there really is 23,000 people that are watching him on X right now, and he gets $10 a month from every one of them, he'll be fine. He'll never be silenced, which is why you got to respect the dude, because he'll never be silenced in that regard. So let them take the network. Yeah, they won in that regard, but the Onion's going to blow it because the Onion's not. It's not a well-run outlet. They're not funny. They're not creative because they're liberal and they're woke and they just don't know how to do anything. So InfoWars will be nothing in 3 years, and the Alex Jones network will be where he was. It'll probably take him 2 to 3 years to get back where he was just by, and it looks like he's already set all this stuff up. Alex Jones Network. I wonder if he even has a website. I haven't even looked any of this up. And he also owns Band Video. I don't know. He has it on X. So I'm sure he'll be able to just, you know, spin up a new one because Elon will still let him broadcast. If he can broadcast on X, then he's going to be fine. That's it. This is not like, you know, a couple years ago when big media was able to ban people off all of these platforms. And he can start a website. He can start another website. He doesn't have ban.com. He'll start ultraban.com or whatever. And Rumble still lets people speak on that when they have a channel there. So, yeah, this stinks for Alex because he's being, punished for lack of a better word, but he's being held up because the left wants to go after him. And, you know, they can. It's fine. But it's not like he's going to stop. It's not like they're going to silence him. So good for you, I guess. It's a win. They'll celebrate for a little bit, but in the end, they'll see it's just as pointless as it was any other time. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So those are our 3 stories tonight. Like I said, I am going to talk about the film Nobody 2, because I just went to see Nobody 2, which is a sequel to the film Nobody that came out a couple years ago. I actually didn't see Nobody in theaters. And let me see. Do this real quick. Nobody. When did Nobody come out? Nobody came out in 2021. Starring Bob Odenkirk, who's a guy who's one of these character actors in all these other films. And he got his chance here. And the big thing, it's made by the same production house that does all the John Wick films. 84. What's the name of the production company? It's 84 1 North or 87 North. 87 North is the one that does all of the John Wick films. The budget was $16 million and it made $57 million worldwide, which is why it's getting a sequel. So Nobody 2 coming out. Nobody 2 reminds me of movies that we used to get 10 or 12 of these a year. 15 years ago. We used to get films like this all the time. And it knows what it is. It is a simple action movie. Now, for my Catholic and Christian brothers and sisters, there's violence in it. It's rated R. So it is a violent film. The Lord's name is taken once, which is not great. That's a negative. but it wasn't, excessive. No sexuality in this film at all. And it actually has a pretty sweet message because it's about a dad who's trying to do the best for his family. He doesn't do everything perfect, but he loves his wife. He loves his children. He'll do anything for them. And it's a simple film that knows what it wants to be. The action is pretty good. There's some pretty funny moments in the film, and I think it'll do fine. I think it'll do really well because it knows what it is, and it's a pretty good for what it is. It's a simple action comedy film, and it delivers on it. So is it a masterpiece? No, it's not supposed to be a masterpiece. It's a film that you can kind of just watch in the background, turn off your brain, and kind of enjoy it. So, like I said, I'm going to drop my full review on Saturday at 10 a.m. I'll talk about the pros and the cons and what I liked and what I disliked about it. But from a Catholic perspective, the Lord's name, unfortunately, it's taken one time in vain, which I was not very happy about. No sexuality at all in this, not even a hint of innuendo or anything, which is good. And just, a lot of violence that's really kind of like over the top kind of stuff. So it's not bad in that regard either. So I'm going to give it's going to be a positive review. So it's probably my second favorite film of the summer after F1. F1 was my favorite film of the summer. And this is my second favorite one. I actually enjoyed watching this film, which is a pretty big deal because there's a lot of films that I'm like, oh, I got to go review this. And it really is a chore to go in and watch some of these things because they just, bleh, they really are just, bleh. Anyway, so that's the idea. That's my quick review of Nobody 2. You can enjoy it. It would be enjoying. So, all right, that's it for this episode of RickCast because I'm trying to save my voice and some energy for News from the Pew, which will come up in about an hour from now. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me here on RickCast. Go to church tomorrow. Go to church tomorrow. It's the Feast of the Assumption of Our Lady. And it's a great day. It's a great day to celebrate. I know Brian was talking about he's going to be feasting tomorrow. You can feast. Steak, meat is back on the menu one Friday only. So enjoy it then. And I will talk to you tomorrow night here on RickCast. On your way out, do me a favor, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, do all the fun things to help the show grow and try to, get it out to as many people as possible. Don't worry, Phoebe. The replay will start any moment. And do what you got to do as far as getting to church. Get to church. I know Bellator said go to confession. Listen, I understand. That's all that. Get to church. Get to church. Take your herbs to mass to get blessed. Get to church. I'll talk to you all either in an hour when you'll hang out with me and Steve Cunningham on News from the Pew. And if not, I will talk to you guys tomorrow. God bless. And until that day comes, free Dexter Taylor.